Pain has reached epidemic proportions in America. I'm Dr. Paul Christo. This is Aches and Gains.
Dr. Paul Christo is one of America's leading experts on relieving pain. He's board-certified, Harvard-trained, and a pain medicine specialist at Johns Hopkins.
Welcome to the show. It seems surprising, but pain caused by emotional distress can be felt more deeply and for a longer period of time than pain caused by physical injuries. Social isolation, guilt, grief, or rejection can be gut-wrenching. It's visceral and painful. In its most severe form, depression can lead to suicide and represents a way to end the pain. And there's a real overlap between our mental states, that is our mind, and our brain. For example, exciting neuroimaging research is showing that doing things like anticipating pain, or imagining pain, or even empathizing with someone else's pain activates the same brain regions that process a physically painful event, like burning our finger. We're here with Dr. Judith Orloff, author of Emotional Freedom. She's an assistant clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA. She blends traditional medicine, energy, spirituality, and intuition into her practice to achieve total wellness and emotional healing. Her work has been featured on The Today Show, CNN, Oprah Magazine, and USA Today. Dr. Orloff, welcome to Aches and Gains.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You've written a book called Emotional Freedom. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, Emotional Freedom talks about how we can transform negative emotions, painful emotions, into more positive ones using various techniques, such as harnessing your biology, learning your psychological background, focusing on spirituality, something greater than the self, and also learning to work with your various energy fluctuations in relationships.
And I think you've really done that in your book. Judith, you're more than just a psychiatrist because you integrate intuition and energy work into your therapeutic approach. How?
When a patient comes in, I listen to what they have to say, but I'm also tuning in with my intuition, and that gives me a lot of added information other than just what they tell me, because a lot of times people don't know why they're really there.
Yeah.
And intuition gives you, it's like a secret weapon. It gives you extra information to help them.
You know, there are many aspects of mental illness that cause us emotional pain, and our previous guest, Julie Hirsch, suffered from severe depression that led to not one but 3 suicide attempts. From a psychiatric perspective, what is emotional pain?
Well, emotional pain can come from a biochemistry that's out of balance. For instance, if your serotonin is low, and people can subjectively experience depression.
Yeah.
The pain of having disappointments, of having breakups. So it's about learning to work with difficult challenges in life, which I consider all spiritual challenges, aimed to help us grow stronger so that we don't succumb to pain, that we're able to work with pain and see it as a part of life, but learning to flow with it rather than attaching to it. We can flow with it rather than resisting it also.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Dr. Orloff, there was an outdated term called psychogenic pain that was used to explain pain that was sort of imaginary and wasn't able to be identified anywhere in the body. But today, neuroimaging studies are doing things like showing us that anticipating pain or imagining pain or empathizing with someone else's pain actually activates the same brain regions that are also involved with processing a physically painful event like burning our finger. So there's really a dynamic interplay between our mental states, that is our mind, and our brain.
Yes, we have innate compassion for other people. And so our brain responds when someone else or a loved one is in pain, and that we subjectively respond also. So there's all kinds of ways to process pain. One thing I talk about in Emotional Freedom is the concept of emotional empathy, where some people are emotional sponges, and I'm one of them. And if you're sensitive, you have a sensitive system, and you tend to take it on, it can make you exhausted. You
know, Judith, I had a patient who had a 25-year-old daughter that was killed. And he told me that when that happened, he was completely enveloped by pain that felt like a nuclear bomb detonating inside of him. I mean, it seemed to me that this description really conveys the essence of emotional pain. What's your impression?
When you have such an intense loss as that, it feels like your whole body is wrenching with pain.
Yeah.
And the whole trick of dealing with that pain is you have to let it flow through you and deal with the feelings as they come so it doesn't get stuck in your body or so you don't bring it in some organ system or your muscles. You want to let the pain work its way through. It's the body's response to dealing with loss. It's actually to me, it's a very beautiful surrender or defense mechanism in the body. It's our body allowing us to work through what's difficult and clear it.
Yeah.
Pain is excruciating. I mean, it's easy to say, deal with your pain. And physical pain can be excruciating. And emotional pain can feel like it's taking you inside out, turning you inside out and wringing you out. And it just comes in waves, and it's very intense.
Yeah, I mean, they're both intense, physical pain and emotional pain. Dr. Orloff, how often, in your experience, does emotional pain manifest itself as a physical pain somewhere in the body?
Some of my patients have vulnerabilities for migraine headaches, and so when they feel stress or something happens in their life that's disturbing, they get a migraine. Others get, a spastic colon, or they get nauseous. Others get back pain. The back is a very sensitive receptor for pain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people have chronic back pain, and that exacerbates.
I've noticed in my own practice that people simply do have different vulnerabilities for pain, as you described. Judith, in a study in 2008, I think it was in the Journal of Psychological Science, they found that pain caused by emotional distress was felt more deeply and for a longer period of time than pain caused by physical injuries. Well, in your experience, what would make this happen?
Well, I think emotional distress affects the heart, and the heart is a very tender place in the body.
Yeah.
And it takes longer for the heart to process the pain. And when the heart is broken or when the heart is disappointed, the risk is that people shut down. Then that pain stays lodged in their body for a longer time. Physical pain, in a way, is easier to deal with, although I believe there's always an emotional component.
And I wonder whether it's related to the mental process of reliving the emotionally painful event. I mean, like social isolation, guilt, grief, or rejection.
Yes, and I believe pain triggers pain. I mean, I had a patient who had a twisted ankle, and then suddenly he's having memories of his divorce 6 years ago that he never resolved the feelings of.
Wow.
So it was the pain of the ankle that triggered the emotional pain.
Judith, it almost seems then that we might be plagued by recollections of emotional pain.
Well, the brain is very kind, and time heals, so we get a certain distance from things. And life goes on, and we have positive memories and good things that happen in the place of old hurts. But in terms of loss and grief, like, for instance, when I lost both my parents, I don't grieve for them constantly, but I have waves of missing them, waves of pain, waves of I wish my mother was here, that kind of thing. And so when that happens, I just allow it to flow through me, and it usually comes and goes. It doesn't stay. But grief and pain, they're not static. They're organic, and they flow, and they can come up at any time. And as long as you can honor that, and also crying is a wonderful way to release pain. It's the body's natural healing mechanism to release stress and fear.
Yeah.
And so if people can allow themselves to cry, there's a healing power in tears also that helps to process the pain.
Great point. Tell us then, Judith, how best to recover from the emotional pain that we experience in our lives.
Yes. Well, the best way to recover from emotional pain is to try and be honest with it, and to try not and numb it with drugs, alcohol, sex, food, whatever. Deal with it little by little, and you don't have to deal with it all at once. Pain is so, it's so hard to deal with. It's so excruciating, pain, and most people attach to it. But I love the mindfulness approach to pain, and just breathing through it, feeling the sensations, but letting it come in and out and letting it go, and not attaching to it, because when you resist pain, it makes it worse. And people need to know that.
Yes, learning those techniques that allow you to work through and detach yourself from the pain are all important. So, Dr. Orloff, it seems that a key to recovering from emotional pain is to surround ourselves with those who have positive energy.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm a big believer in that you want to surround yourself with relationships that are positive and loving and supportive.
Right.
These people give off a warm, fuzzy glow. You want to move towards them. You feel like hugging them. You want to talk to them. You feel safe around them. They're able to love. They make you feel good. They make your energy go up. So Just take a look around for them. They're around. That you want to collect those in your life so you can have a circle of positive friends. That
sounds great. I mean, on the flip side, though, not everybody is like that.
Yeah, I have a whole chapter in emotional freedom on emotional vampires, and these are people who can suck you dry. You're around them, and your energy goes down.
Yeah.
So you have to identify those people. I go through different types, such as the criticizer, the judger, the narcissist, the victim, the poor me person, the passive-aggressive person, the malicious type. There are various types of energy vampires, so you have to identify each one and just learn how to set very clear limits and boundaries with them.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave us that list, too. Before we close, will you talk to us about the importance of compassion to ourselves in a way that we can use to deliberately create a condition that promotes our own emotional healing?
The primary relationship you have is with yourself. Other people are there too, but you have to deal with yourself. And the self is terrifying. It can be. And so you have to really learn how to be sweet and kind and loving and compassionate with yourself. That's essential.
Great points. I believe that both compassion and forgiveness of ourselves and others are vital to healing emotional pain. Dr. Judith Orloff, author of Emotional Freedom, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on Aches and Gains.
Oh, you're very welcome.
To access podcasts of the show, please go to paulchristomd.com. That's paulchristomd.com. Aches and Gains is produced by Tom Blair and Ty Ford. Elsa Langford is the technical consultant and engineer. Dr. Paul Christo is the executive producer. From WBAL Radio 1090 AM, you've been listening to Aches and Gains with Dr. Paul Christo.